One of the most upbeat and vibrant series in the adventure game genre is the pretty well-known series Zork, with it being one of the more prominent players of the early text adventure series. A few months back, I delved into the first of 3 graphic adventure games developed in the series, beginning with the absurd and pretty much insane Return to Zork, which follows on with the quirky and vibrant natures of the original text games. But while the previous games in the Zork series are upbeat, funny and comical, Activision released a new monstrosity onto the world, with Zork Nemesis in 1996. In contrast to the absurd and comical nature of Return to Zork, Nemesis instead is more dark and violent to a point where I would consider the eerie atmosphere of the game to be much more terrifying than most horror games you'll see today. And yes, you better believe I'm talking about the head scene.
Reminds me of a joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Oh? There's somebody there. What is this, some kind of a joke? A joke!
But that's jumping a little too far ahead. Let's start from the beginning. Zork Nemesis begins with an unnamed adventurer literally flying in out of nowhere with no real backstory provided in-game. Instead, the player back in the day would be provided with some wonderful feelies, little extras that would be included with the game. In particular being a journal of one Agent Karlok Bivotar, provided with the task of locating 4 important individuals: Madame Sophia Hamilton, Bishop Francois Malvo, Dr. Erasmus Sartorius, and General Farius Kane, who have all mysteriously disappeared, and thus Bivotar enters the Forbidden Land and details his journey as he learns more of the cursed figure that the people fear as the Nemesis. While on his journeys, Bivotar notes that he begins to succumb to a darkness and a fury, which a cleaning woman comments as Nemesis, and makes him wonder if he is cursed. The journal comes to an end, stating he is going to enter the temple, and he has placed a spell which would return the book back to where he came from in the event of his death. The final page indicates an untimely end for Bivotar, with him hastily writing, "The 4. They are here. Dead. Nemesis hates. Kill the girl. Evil. He will not. I am dead." Which suggests that the agent met his untimely end, and these notes were instead provided to his successor, the player. Much like the player characters of previous Zork games, no real attribution is given to the player's character appearance to help immerse them into the game, with all visuals taking place from the perspective of the player in the first person view. Now for all we know, the player character could look like Peter Griffin and we'd be none the wiser. The main area that the player explores is the Temple of Agrippa, where the 4 alchemists are kept in strange coffins where they are dead, but not quite dead enough to chat away to the player and beg them for their help, killed by the Nemesis.
But beware. The Nemesis.
Who appears as a disembodied voice to mock the player as they journey throughout the temple and throws death traps at them.
Have you come to seek the alchemists? Don't waste your time. I've killed them all. You can do no good here.
In order to help them, the player is tasked with locating each of the alchemist's respective element. For Kane, this is the power of earth. For Malvo, the power of fire. For Sophie, the element of water. And for Sartorius, the element of air. Each of these elements are hidden away in the temple, guarded by the Nemesis and his fiendish puzzles. And let me tell you, those puzzles are a lot like the humour in the game. They are no joke. Admittedly, the puzzles of Zork Nemesis aren't exactly as baffling in logic as the predecessor was. Remember when we had to, for some reason, throw all our items at a bridge to cross? Well, there's none of that here, but that doesn't mean they aren't difficult. I originally started playing this game years ago and gave up essentially at the start of the game because I had no idea where to go. One of the more prominent is the air puzzle, where I could only operate one of the levers and had no idea what to do. However, I came to learn that the game actually provides its own in-house hint system by pressing the slash key, bringing up a painting of a woman with a booty. Each time the player clicks on the booty, he is provided a hint up to 3 times.
Listen to the wind's call to ascend into the air. Right past the altar you'll find the stairs that are not. Down the right side of the altar, then right through the doorway to begin the path to air.
At first, this seems pretty inviting to use, but eventually the hint system has enough of the player's persistence and will instead mockingly tell them that they're close. Along the way, the player learns much more about the alchemists and their involvement with a woman known as Alexandria, and Lucian, the son of Cain, who they explain were both killed by the Nemesis, but that their deaths can be reversed if the alchemists can be freed.
The Nemesis. My daughter Alexandria was his victim. Brilliant, beautiful. And he killed her simply because she got in the way. I couldn't save her. And for that, I'll burn yet. Sometimes I feel her spirit here. I hear her music. Please, help us. There is a way to bring her back.
My own murder I will forgive him, but not the murder of my son. I was a man with many flaws, but Lucian was just a boy. Once I vowed to get revenge. Now, I just want my son back. Find the place where his soul rests. I've never asked this of anyone, but now, I ask you. Help me.
After finding all of the elements, the alchemists band together to turn the Nemesis into the sun or something. With this, the player takes it to an observatory, which allows them to travel to various locations associated with the 4 alchemists. How? It's Zork, bitch, you don't need to question it. There are 4 locations that are associated with a respective planet, such as Iron Dune Castle, the Music Conservatory, the Monastery, and the Asylum. Each location has an unnerving atmosphere to them, but none are as terrifying as the horrors of Sartorius' Asylum, which makes the rest look like a walk in the park. And one of the locations is literally the scene of a battlefield. The Asylum, like most of the other locations, is mostly empty, but filled with ambient sounds such as screams, and the sight of blood around the place is definite cause for concern. Each location has at least one person to interact with, although the Asylum features a rather unstable looking person who decides to deliver some shock therapy to the player.
Brace yourself, it's looking glass time.
But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the Asylum is the head puzzle.
God, you're beautiful. Come in a little closer, okay? I think I love you. Let me tell you a little secret. 36, 24, 36.
I think this is perhaps one of the most infamous puzzles in adventure gaming, as most people I see refer to this game will remember the head puzzle. When I say infamous, I don't mean that it's a difficult puzzle at all. In fact, I remember it being pretty straightforward. But instead, the infamy comes from the grotesque and violent nature of the puzzle. In order to progress through the asylum, the player finds a head spike, accompanied by several others that are filled with other decapitated heads. In the morgue, the player finds a dead body that requires them to put the body into a guillotine to receive yet another decapitated head to place it on to the remaining spike, which causes the head to speak to the player. Ugh.
Come on, right here. You want a piece of me right here, right now? I'll chew your freaking face off.
The main objective of visiting each area is to find the respective element of the alchemist that resides in the location. For Sartorius, his associated metal is tin, whereas Kane's is iron, Malvo's is lead, and Sophia's is copper. At the end of each area, the player needs to essentially craft the metal themselves, which in turn brings them back to the temple and allows them to place the metal in its respective slots. However, exploring the locations of each alchemist also reveals some more backstory, revolving around the alchemist and the involvement of Alexandria and Lucian. The mysterious Alexandria turns out to be a child that was taken from a patient at Sartorius' asylum and was given to the care of Malvo and raised in his monastery, and then tutored at Sophia's conservatory. It's at this conservatory that she performs for an audience and catches the eye of Kane's son, Lucian. They both become involved, which causes concern for Kane and Sophia and results in them both running away together to the monastery, where Alexandria begs her father to marry them both. However, Malvo appears to betray them both by alerting Kane to the marriage proposal, who promptly shows up and arrests his son, showing that the alchemists aren't quite as high and mighty as they try to show themselves. After gathering all the metals, the player is warped back to the temple, where the alchemists have recovered and gathered around the table with a chalice which they claim contains the elixir of life, and the player will need to consume it before it turns to poison, in a rather odd attempt at peer pressure.
You must drink it, but drink it quickly or we will all perish.
In a few seconds it will ferment into the rankest poison. Hurry.
Drink it. Please drink. No.
Please drink.
Drink.
Drink, please.
When the player doesn't consume it, the chalice disappears, and we learn that the alchemists are actually evil, and that Nemesis is actually Lucian, who discovered the plot of the alchemist to sacrifice Alexandria to gain eternal life. Arriving too late, Lucian flies into a fit of rage, killing all of the alchemists, including his father, for weeping over the death of Alexandria, becoming the Nemesis. Instead, Lucian begs the player to save Alexandria and throws a ring that teleports them to the courtyard. If the player strays off onto the wrong path, he winds up meeting with the alchemists who appear to kill him. I'm not too sure what happened. All I know is they crashed my game. Instead, there is a hidden lock behind the fountain where the ring opens the location of Alexandria's body, but while also holding the tools to developing the fifth element, the Quintessence. The player uses Lucian and Alexandria's rings to craft Quintessence, which allows them to fly back up to the catwalk. They certainly do a lot of flying, don't they? Back at the table, the alchemists appear to have found Alexandria's spirit and are using the power of the eclipse to absorb it. I don't really know. If the player does nothing, Alexandria disappears and the player is killed after being called a loser.
Say goodbye. What a loser.
But by using the Quintessence on the alchemist, this disrupts the ceremony and results in the alchemist straight up being deleted, and the player miraculously flying out of harm's way. Outside, they reunite with Lucian and the now resurrected Alexandria, who thank the player and ask them to come with them.
We have to get away from here.
Wait. Come with us.
She's right. I mistook you. We have more than destiny to thank. We have you. Stay with us, my fool. My friend. We are the same blood. You have no nemesis here.
Okay, but you literally tried to kill me. You are literally not my friend. The two run off to the now open gate before I can even agree to becoming their awkward third wheel, which seemingly leads to a dead-end graveyard, but with the hint painting nearby. Once the player clicks on it, they gaze upon the painting, before slowly being sucked into her butthole, ending the game. Despite being the darker of the Zork series with some disturbing elements that I would compare it to a horror game, Nemesis is actually a pretty interesting story, although certainly lacking the humour and charm of the rest of the series. However, that by no means makes it a bad game, and it was truly enjoyable, although I'm pretty glad they quit of the series in Darktone for his next game. I guess you could say they quit while they were ahead. Want to make sure you don't miss out on the next Noir Reservoir video when it's released? Then make sure you don't forget to subscribe to Noir Reservoir and click that little bell down there to be kept up to date on all future Noir Reservoir videos. Likes and comments are always appreciated. And why not consider checking out my Twitter for all the dank memes? I'm sure you won't regret it. Probably. So until next time my friends, I'll catch you later.